Hello, welcome back to Hot Wrench Fabrication. Next part on the 55. 55 is alive. Just kind of making a final push. I haven't been filming some of this stuff because it's kind of basic, but got most of the sheet metal all done. Well, I do have the sheet metal done. And now I'm working on the fuel system. Hose coming out of there. Mounted the pump down here. This is just temporary because we're going to switch this motor out for fuel injection. The fuel injection will come out of the gas tank. This is just temporary because we already have a motor in there that this guy wants to get it running. So that runs through there and up and over, goes into a metal line that I bent, and then that's the metal line that was already in there. Junction's right there and runs forward. And then the brake lines. Brake lines was the original. Added this little section here. She goes up and over and comes out here, and then I have a flex line that's gonna hook to the rear end. And then the rear end's all powder coated, shiny, glossy black. So I made this little junction block with the fittings on there, and it's gonna be the vent. And then this is where that flex line goes. Bends around to these little brackets that I made and put on there, and then a little flex line going to the calipers. So right now the third member is getting set up. So when I get that back, I can pop that bad boy in there, but for now I'm going to get the housing in. That's probably going to be next now that I have all this plumbing done, because the plumbing was up and over that. I want to get that done before I put the rear end hither in the middle. So that part's done, and then made a battery box. Should have probably filmed that because it turned out kind of cool. Cut it out, sheet metal, bent it all up, welded those little corners on the bottom, and then powder coated it, and then of course made some battery cables for it. So quick little update, and we're going to get the rear end put in next. So we'll shoot that. We'll continue on with the build. Get the rear end in. That's some dirt right there. Wishbone is in. If you're not familiar with the wishbone, it's basically the same thing as a panhard bar. Keeps the rear end stabilized side to side. Centers it up right here. You just adjust each one of these, and it basically will tilt this one way or the other and keep the rear end centered. So everything's kind of loose right now, but it's still tight. So I measured, put a plumb bob off of this bolt right here, hang it straight down. Same thing on the other side. Measure from here to the plumb bob, and they're absolutely exactly perfect. So the rear end looks like it's in good shape. What's left on the back is a U-joint. Probably have to get a new yoke for this to get the 1350 U-joint in there. But the old drive shaft looks like it's pretty good. It's actually a little bit too long, so I don't have much of a slip right here, but it's really not going to move much with the 4-link, so we'll see how that turns out. But yeah, it's coming along. So went to put all the axles in. I finally got those, and right before I put the axle in, I'm like, well, let me see if it fits the wheels that customer had, and it did not fit the wheels. The rear wheels were, bolt pattern was 5 on 4.5, which is kind of weird because the fronts are Chevy, which is 5 on 4 3/4. So whoever he got the wheels from gave him wheels that were supposedly going to fit a Ford, because we're putting the Ford 9-inch in there, but we had custom axles made, and I made them for 4 3/4. So that didn't work out so good. He took them to a place and had the bolt pattern re-drilled, so no big deal. Should be here today, and then I can finish putting that together. In the meantime, I'm going to swap this front end out, put some tubular arms on here, get rid of these guys. So that's today's project, getting rid of that stuff. So the video's been a little slow coming. So I've been waiting for parts and all kinds of stuff. I waited for those custom axles to be made, and then I waited for the powder coating of the rear end to be done. So this part is the slow part where I just have to wait. Now I have to wait to see what we're going to do about the drive shaft. So it's almost finished though. Getting close, can't wait. So thanks for watching once again. Stay tuned for some more. Well, most of the back end is all done. I'm going to move up to the front end. You got brakes on. Drive shaft is actually finished. My buddy's bringing that back. I can put that on. Looks like everything is fairly close. There's still some angles I have to measure after I get it on the ground, but I'm gonna start going through and tightening all this stuff up. But the brakes are all done. Rear end's done. Everything is in. It's looking marvelous. Putting tubular arms on the front end too. Got one side done. I've been a little lax on filming. But tubular A-arms with coilovers, so we can adjust the front of this thing. This was an absolute biatch to get apart. All this stuff is so rusty. The nuts came off, but then the bolt itself is rusted into this cross shaft, and I couldn't get that other side off. It was crazy. So a little bit of heat, a little bit of lubricant, finally got it pried off of there. I ended up just cutting the coils. Easier way to take all this stuff apart without the pressure of the springs trying to kill you. So I just heat them up and blew through them, so there's no pressure on those. So obviously this side needs to come apart still. But all this old nasty junk. When my friend brought this car, it actually came with A-arms, tubular A-arms. These are super old. This was designed to have the coil spring go around it in the stock shock. Only problem is that it needs to be adjustable because he didn't want the front end of the car up. So on the other arm, I ended up cutting this cup off, cutting these nuts off, and then just made a plate to go in there, welded that on, and then to put the two little ears on there for the coilovers. So that was a pretty easy fix. And then popped the bushings in, and it felt perfect. On both upper control arms, you can see I put this bar through here, and it's not even close to lining up. It has to be straight. Both of those were, I don't think they were bent, I just think they were made incorrectly. Not only are they bent this way, but also this one has a twist on it. So I had to heat the other one up. I'll show you, hopefully kind of show you the process on that one. I ended up heating it up, bending it out, and then cutting the end off and twisting it to where everything's straightened out. I made a little jig for it, which I didn't really need because I have the old arm here. I just made sure that the outside edges of this, where the bushing flattens out, was the same, and that's what these little lines are for here. So once this is all straightened out, this black mark right here should line up pretty close to that. Once the cross shaft is in there, it draws everything in and straightens it out. So yeah, so that's that. So I'll get that all working on. I've been doing some other projects. I'm a automotive inspector for insurance companies, so been swamped with that lately and haven't really been able to work on this thing that much. So that's why the videos are getting a little bit slower, but winding down, almost done. Gotta drop this thing down on the ground, set the ride height. Right now I think the thing is probably gonna go all the way down to the ground, but I'll fix all that. These are some older shocks, but you just turn this and set the ride height on it wherever you want, so it'll be nice. This thing's gonna look killer. We did end up putting the back tire on just to see how it would fit, and it's absolutely perfect. The center line, which is this edge on the back side, my little arrow on there, that center line matches up exactly with the center here. I triangulated it off the front, and the measurements are perfect. So pretty happy with that. Tire fills up just right and has a nice gap on both sides. So looks killer. Can't wait to get this thing done. So we'll get started on this other side and keep the process going. Well, I think she's about done. A couple small little things to button up, but she's on the ground, on her feet, and driving. Owner's got to come pick it up and help me put the trunk lid back on. She got a nice little stance to it. I think we got her pretty good. I like it. Got it all finished up in here. Sitting units wired up. The owner's gonna come back through it and seam seal it, paint it, make it all nice in here. I've already got a ton of hours on it. I'm ready to get back. But yeah, I think it looks good. The stance is nice and everything turned out really nice. Alright, so finally wrapping up the 55 build. Give you a once over, show you guys what I did to it and the final product. And so gas tank hanging down just enough. Fuel line going in there. This is just temporary because it's carbureted right now. Switching the fuel injection after we get the new motor in there. But yeah, put the pump there. A little bit of wiring. Got the battery cables running through here, kind of being hidden. They're way up in there. Got my meats on here. I should probably get a light. Let me get a light. Hold, please. That way you guys can see what's going on a little bit better here. All right. So, as you can see, there's some decent room in between everything. And the battery cable running up way up there in the corner, so it's going to be nice and not big. Same thing with the wiring over here. Everything's all heat shrunk and wired up, loomed up. Nice. Put the wires way up there. Nice little gap of the tire. So right height is all set. Rear end's all set. Nice shiny black powder coat on there. Disc brakes looking good. Little wishbone. Got my little what do you call it thing? Drive shaft loop in there. And I just kind of whipped up this little drive shaft loop here. This is for the front in case it breaks. It won't go anywhere. And A-arms on the front. These are some old A-arms he had laying around for the car, but got those put on, painted and powder coated everything. So I modified these to accept coilovers instead of the spring so we can adjust the ride height. That looks pretty good. Turned out nice. So yeah, everything looks good. Got to set the alignment. This one's cambered out quite a bit. But yeah, that's a wrap. Let me lower it down a little bit. Customer's coming to pick this up today, so he's pretty stoked. And I'm pretty stoked to get rid of it. I got some more projects going on, so I'm gonna pull some stuff in here. Just easy things. Got a brake job on a Bronco and blower motor on a Toyota. Got some more race car stuff coming up, but nothing's set in stone yet. But the back end is all kind of cool. And then I built this Pretty neat little toolbox. I had some patinaed metal out there that I just whipped up, put some of the old punch-in style rivets in there, and a little rod for a handle and some Zeus clips on there. Just kind of cool little feature to put some tools and stuff in there. And then customer's still gonna finish it up, put some seam seal on everything and make it all clean. I did add these brackets on here and tied those back in. So, and then the customer is going to finish the interior. He's got to make the seats fit around these big old tubs. He's got to cut some of the springs out on the outside, but it should work. And we got to bolt the seat down. But that's it. That's a wrap. Finally finished this bad boy up. Hope you enjoyed the series, and there'll be more to come. Once again, thanks for watching Hot Wrench Fabrication, and we'll see you on the next one. All right, another satisfied customer taking his vehicle, heading up the hill. Pleasure to see it go. That was a fun project. And there it goes.